doors down from me in my room is the G-Man, the voice of the Kings, Gerould, hanging out here in Las Vegas. G-Man, good morning.
Fine here. I was trying to push buttons and make things happen, and it wasn't happening the way it was supposed to. You know, I'm such a technical wizard. It's just, but well, I've got Henry between you and me as a buffer, I think. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, how's Vegas treating you so far? I know you've been here maybe a day longer than us. It's going to be another warm one out there. I got to watch some hoops yesterday, but how's Vegas so far?
All good. You know, no major complaints. You're right. It is warm, but it's always warm in Vegas in July, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure. And we'll get into some basketball here in a moment, but you're also, you like to explore the cities you go to around the NBA. I know when you're in New York or Brooklyn, if you can get a show, your son Bob's here, who we've had on a couple times here recently. I think you were telling me last night, you guys are going to get a chance to go to the Sphere here in a day or two?
Yeah, we're gonna check that out on Sunday afternoon. Off day for the Kings in terms of the game, and that place has intrigued me since it opened a couple of years ago or last year. I lost track, but I'm really anxious to see what it's like up close and personal. So they have a show going on a daily basis, and we'll be amongst the throng checking out the Sphere.
Yeah, and in your years being here, any show. I mean, you're a show aficionado in different places, or theater more so, but like anything out here that you've taken in that you think, man, that was really a must see, or something that really wowed you. There was one a couple years I remember you went to, but I'm not remembering what it was, but you were really raving about that show maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But what off the top of your head do you remember?
A group from Australia, and now I'm showing my age here. I can't come up with their name off the top of my head. Human Nature, that was the name of them, and they were a takeoff on the Motown sound, and high energy, and just they were terrific. I've seen them multiple times, and I don't know if they still are together or if they still exist. Haven't seen them here in Vegas in a while, but great show.
Well, last night we saw a decent show at times from the Sacramento Kings. Other times it looked like Summer League, but that's okay. That's what this is about. I'd love your impressions on what stood out to you, maybe positively or negatively from last night.
Well, there were a variety of things, and I know you talked there with Henry, and you were talking earlier about the start that Maxime Raynaud had for the Kings was just dazzling. The first 6 minutes, I think he scored 11 points, and he just, there were things that stood out to me. The fact that he's versatile, the fact that he was so vocal on the floor, his footwork looked impeccable. He just looked like a nice fit. And I just thought, wow, what a great way to start your NBA career. And it's going to be fun to watch him continue to blossom and to try to fit in. But I thought there was a lot to like from his standpoint. I also was intrigued by Nique Clifford, of course. Everybody anxious to see what kind of contributions you'd get from the key rookie acquisitions. I thought he stepped up particularly late down the stretch when the Kings had lost momentum and Orlando was suddenly in the ball game. In fact, I think at one point they tied it up there in the final minutes. But Nique made the right play. Looks like he belongs. Got to the free throw line 10 times. Unfortunately, he only made 6 of the 10. That's got it better, no question about that. Mason Jones was solid. The defense had 12 steals last night. They didn't shoot the ball well, under 40%. And I know that, there was a lot of attention being displayed to Devin Carter in his kind of newly appointed role as a point guard. He'd love to have that game back. I'm anxious to see how he responds against Chicago tomorrow. 2 for 14, 0 for 4 on threes. He and Isaiah Stevens, who were the primary guys at the point guard, were only 3 for 20 shooting. Ooh. So, man, I mean, it's one game and it's a start, and you got to start somewhere. So, I think we're all anxious to see how they respond to that.
Yeah, and I think for Carter too, G-Man, it's maybe out of position, and I'm not as bothered by maybe the playing that position, which may not be the spot they're going to put him in. But I thought some of the times where maybe he would catch a ball on the wing and the shot was there to take, he did pass it up and then put it on the floor and then went into some traffic and had, he's in there with the big boys and had some tough time finishing. I think for him really to grow, whether he is on the ball or off the ball, he's got to believe in that shot a little bit more. Even if he missed it, I just would have liked to seen him take that a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there were a couple of possessions, and in fact, we commented, Bobby noted, I said at one point, there was a possession where he was pounding the ball. It was just one-on-one, and there was no ball movement. And the next sequence, he was taken out of the game by Depeche Mystery, who is the summer league coach, and they had a conversation on the sidelines. And I would love to have been able to hear that conversation. But it's all part of that process. I think that he's feeling, and probably rightly so, some pressure to be the guy, to be the initiator, to make the right play and the right decision. But you could see him, as you indicated, I think, kind of thinking his way through that process. And it just didn't look natural at all. And it's one game and it's a start and it's a different role for him.
Yeah, for sure. Did we lose G-Man there for a minute? We might have lost the G-Man. Chris, do we have the G-Man still? Or did we lose all of us?
Sactown Sports.
All right, apologies, some technical difficulties back here. Chris has just been the man. He's been going through a lot today. So thank you, as always, to the amazing Chris Verlade. G-Man is still with us. G-Man, sorry about that. Like I told Henry earlier, had I had a second headset, you could have just walked down a couple doors and we could have just had you in the room here. But we'll kind of pick up there where we were talking last. So thank you for hanging on.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think it was kind of a tough game, like we said, for Carter. Some signs here from Maxime Raynaud and certainly Nique Clifford that were encouraging. How about just an overall perspective, G-Man, on the Kings? This is an interesting offseason for them. They've been in that area where, some nights last year, look, we saw them sweep Houston. We saw them sweep the Cavs, win in Boston, and we can certainly pick many games where they were not shining stars. So they're not a bad team. They're not a great team. They got a new GM, a new coach. They're really trying to navigate this kind of tricky window where they've got some guys coming back, incorporate new guys. And I don't think all of that's that easy, really, for Scott Perry and Doug Christie in this first year for these guys.
Yeah, not by any stretch of the imagination. It is a bit of a pickle in the sense that you're trying to figure out who's going to fit where. And certainly, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any insight into what's actually going on, behind the doors of Scott Perry's office and one thing or another. But I still have the feeling that this roster is yet to be finalized before we get to training camp for real in late September. I have no idea. I don't know that anybody does. And I just know that you're in a situation where you're trying to put a lot of elements together. Clearly, things didn't work out the way everyone had hoped last year from a number of standpoints. And we've talked frequently about how much Doug Christie had thrown at him as an interim coach. In a 4-month span, he had things that he had to deal with that many coaches don't have to deal with in, say, 5 years of being an NBA head coach. So I think we're all anxious to see how this club responds, how the transition is made in personnel, how the transition is made in terms of new coaching staff and everybody pulling on the rope. I've been impressed with Scott Perry and what he's had to say and what he's done. I thought what he did in the draft was remarkable. When you went in and the Kings didn't have a first-round pick, and they ended up with these two guys, Raynaud and Clifford, who I think are going to adapt to the NBA, I think, very comfortably and very nicely. So I'm encouraged by that, Jason.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and you mentioned Doug, and I know you are, and me, there's a lot of people that are in this camp, G-Man, that are just, I'm just an unapologetic Doug fan. I mean, just a friend. I want him to succeed probably more than is even possible. I just, I know he wants this job. I know he wants to win so badly for this city. He wants to win for you, for me, for everybody out there. I know it. And he's, I just think so highly of him. I just really want him to excel. And I know he's going to be in a pretty tough spot with the roster, but also I believe in Doug. So I'm so rooting for him this year.
Yeah, we're not alone. There are an awful lot of people, I think, who feel that way. One of the things that pleased me was the fact that when the regular season ended, the Kings didn't waste a lot of time before they made the final decision about who's going to be the head coach going forward. And I appreciated that, as I'm sure Doug did as well. And now Scott Perry in place. And it was interesting, watching across, we were on the opposite side of the floor from where Doug and Mike Woodson sat side by side, and then it was Scott Perry and Vivek was there, and watching, the interplay and the heads that would go together in certain situations, the reaction to what they were seeing on the floor. I'm always intrigued by things like that. And that's what Summer League is about. Summer League has become such a big thing in Las Vegas. And I know you mentioned earlier, it was when you were talking with Henry about Cooper Flagg playing next door at Thomas and Mack last night. And the place was packed, a huge crowd. And even though they're starting on Thursday this year, as opposed to Friday, which they've started on in the past, but a big crowd there. And all the attention was focused on Cooper Flagg. And then I watched Sports Center last night, and it was the Cooper Flagg show. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the nature of today's media. But my goodness, Maxime Raynaud, in his first 5-6 minutes on the floor, what he did to me was vastly superior to anything I saw from Cooper Flagg in the highlights. But we're gonna see a lot of Cooper Flagg, I'm sure, and rightly so, because he's a really talented young basketball player. So it's intriguing to me. I mean, it's become almost a circus, but I love the energy and the atmosphere. And I love the fact that everywhere you turn, you see a familiar face and you see somebody that was in the Kings organization or someone that starred against the Kings or one thing or another. And it's just, I'm always fascinated by that. And I love the energy of Summer League. And I love how, we're standing at the airport. I came on the same flight as the team, and I'm looking at this amazing mass of personnel here that represent the Sacramento Kings. And then you think there are 29 other teams equally represented like that here in Vegas at this time. So it's exciting, and it just you have to start somewhere. And so we get a nice taste of it, I think, during the month of July in Vegas. And so I'm anxious to see now tomorrow how the Kings do against the Chicago Bulls, and whether or not what's the young fellow from Chicago?
But Salas, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And whether or not he's playing and how effective he is, and one thing or another. So there's always something that draws your attention or tweaks you, and you say, "Oh man, let's see how this plays out." So it's cool. It really is.
Yeah, it was a nice observation for me yesterday, G-Man, was like I've done this a long time. You've done it far longer, and to me, every year we get older, the players are getting younger and younger, and there's so many new faces that are coming around all these teams, and the Kings specifically. But then there's someone like Mike Woodson, who's back in the organization, a player you called games of from the beginning, and he's like, "Where's G-Man?" And just your connections to people, and to have that circle with, again, a bunch of brand new coaches and people around. But here's Mike Woodson back in the mix with the organization, someone you called nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah, and that just boggles my mind. And after the game last night, I saw Terry, his wife, and had a chance to give her a hug and say hello. And then his daughter, who's now married, has a child, and it just like, wow, where does all of this time go? But 40 years ago, we remember how on fire the city of Sacramento was to have the Kansas City Kings relocating to Sacramento, and the frenzy and anticipation and big league sports finally being represented on a regular basis in Sacramento, and the reception that was there for a Mike Woodson and a Larry Drew and a LaSalle Thompson and Eddie Johnson and Reggie Theus and Mark Olberding, on and on and on. Special times. And now, obviously, age has become a significant factor as far as I'm concerned, but I get just as excited to see a Maxime Raynaud and to see a Nique Clifford come in. And I love the fact that Scott Perry went for guys who've aged a bit. They're 22, 23 years of age. So they've got a few miles behind them in terms of the college experience. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think that's a big head start when you go to the NBA. So again, anxious to just see how all of it starts to come together, and hope hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
That it's a year that has a lot of positives for the Sacramento Kings in what is still a very, very tough Western Conference.
Yes, that's for sure. And I know you were talking about drafting these guys with experience. You and I were both at the Maxime Raynaud and Nique Clifford press conference. I know you went to the Dennis Schroeder one, and I just think you don't win press conferences, but you can make an impact and an impression in a press conference in a negative way too. But this would be on the other end of the scale. I thought what Nique Clifford and Maxime Raynaud, their press conference, again, it's about how they play on the floor. But G-Man, as people, as mature, as answers, as thoughtful people, I mean, I was blown away.
I was as well. I was sitting with Morgan Reagan and also Matt George, and I said to them as the press news conference ended, the vibe and the chemistry was so good between the rookies and also between Scott Perry and Doug Christie. Yeah. And I said, this was extraordinary to me because, you're used to, everybody says kind of the right thing and one thing or another, those deals, and you get a few pearls or nuggets that come out of it. But all in all, it was unlike so many introductory news conferences. And I was like you, I was just very, very impressed.
Yeah. And, and anything kind of Kings related, I think Sacramento's done such a good job. Like they support their own. If somebody's in a 3-point contest or the Kings are having a great season and once a King, kind of always a King. I was thinking about that earlier today, G-Man. We were talking about golf, which I know you enjoy. And up in Tahoe, the celebrity tournament's going on. And we were looking at the field and I went, hey, wait, Zach LaVine's in there. I did not know Zach was in this. And so now, here's another guy to root for. I want to see how Zach does this weekend.
I am too. I'm very curious about that. He seemed to be in good humor. I saw a couple of clips of his conversation with various media representatives who were up there, and I just Tahoe is special to me and has been. I was introduced to Lake Tahoe 60 some years ago, and for the first time, and it's never lost its appeal, its draw. And I just that whole atmosphere around that golf tournament is extraordinarily special. And I hope that I get a chance to watch some of the TV coverage. And of course, I'm always curious to see how well Steph Curry plays. But there are a lot of really good athletes who are remarkably good golfers who play. It's a legit affair. And it's become so popular. And let's see what Zach does. I want to see how far he hits that doggone golf ball.
I know. I'm sure he hits it a ton like all these athletes. It's disgusting, isn't it, G-Man?
It is. We were talking last night, you and Henry and I, we were having a slight pizza afterward. I was recalling the first time I ever played golf. This goes way back. So forgive me, younger folks. Rick Barry, who was a tremendous NBA basketball talent. And I had a chance to play golf with him on a handful of occasions. And usually in casino tournaments, the casinos used to have them on a regular basis, Reno, Tahoe, etc. And the first time that I played golf with Rick Barry, we're standing on the first tee at this course in Reno, and he drove the green as the foursome in front of us was still on the green putting out. And that was my introduction to Rick Barry. And I don't remember the exact distance, but it was like 340 to 360 yards. And I'm saying, oh my goodness. But the downside was, because of his competitive nature, he expected you to be as good as he was. And that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, come on, rest of the group. You can't hit a 340? No, we can't, Rick. You're an athlete, and you can. Yeah, it's amazing, these guys. Just a different breed, but we all enjoy our own golf, G-Man. We enjoy you. We'll enjoy watching the game with you again tomorrow. Thank you for your time today, and we'll see you probably here shortly, I'm sure.
Thank you, Jason. Look forward to it, as always.
All right, thank you. That's the great G-Man Gerould, your voice of the Kings, getting ready for season number 41 as your voice of the Kings. It's always great to hang out with him and Bob Gerould. They're here together with the high flyer Henry Turner, and like I said, with Frankie and Brendan and Deuce and Mo and Chris Watkins will be out here, and Styles and Draper. It's just, it's a good time out here in Vegas, Kings fans, and just everybody together. It's just a cool vibe out here. So we've said it before. We'll say it again. If you ever get a chance to get out Summer League, it's a good time. That's for sure. All right, break time for us. When we come